Hey folks, and welcome back to Fireside Farms. In case y'all are new here, my name is Megan. I live in Zone 8A in southern New Mexico in the high desert. And today I'm going to be going over all of the varieties, well, not all of them. Most of the varieties I will be planting in my garden, and I have a little seed haul for y'all. I haven't gotten in all my seeds, but I also am not purchasing a whole lot this year. One of my goals of sustainability is spending less at the garden store, at seed stores. Like everyone else, I love seed shopping, but it kind of defeats the purpose if I'm buying 300 packs of new seeds every year. So this year I just refilled things that I was out of and purchased a couple new varieties after the drama that my garden had last year. I'm deciding to try some hybrid varieties to see if those work better in my area. So we'll be going over that, and also heirloom varieties that I've used before and will absolutely be growing again. So to start off, a few of the seed companies, I haven't purchased from all of these seed companies, but I did purchase from two. So Seeds and Such, my mom had this seed catalog and I've never heard of Seeds and Such, but I looked through it and there were a couple varieties I liked and wanted to try, as well as you got 2 free pepper seed packets with your order, so naturally I had to buy some. Seed Savers Exchange, I have a lot of seeds from this company. They are very good. I did not purchase any this year because I didn't need any, but I love looking at the catalog. This is not seeds, this is a Murray McMurray hatchery catalog. I also purchased from them. Territorial Seed Company, and also a very awesome catalog to look at. I did not buy any from Territorial. I think all I bought from this year are M.I. Gardener and Seeds and Such. Johnny Seed Company. This is an excellent seed company if you're looking for hybrids. I shopped through this. The prices are a bit higher than most other seed companies you'll find. I think probably the lowest, if they don't have a sale, is like starting at $5.50. Like I said, most of these varieties are hybrids. That could be a cause for the price. I don't know. And then, of course, Baker Creek. I don't think I purchased anything from Baker Creek this year. I think I have some in my cart. I just never checked out. But what we are looking at today is this. This is the package I got from M.I. Gardener, which I was very, very excited about. All right, my camera wasn't quite, you guys want to see what you're balanced on right now? A candle and deer tallow, because that guy's too high. And whenever I do it this way, it just like fits perfectly around my face. So, from M.I. Gardener, I got cilantro, Mizuna red mustard, slow bolt arugula, summer savory, peppercini peppers. Last year I grew banana peppers because I really wanted to quick pickle them, which I did, and they didn't taste that good. I thought they were gonna be spicier, but I must have ordered a packet of sweet banana peppers. They were great as like a frying pepper, but not so good pickled. The habanada pepper. This is a pepper I am super excited about because I also love habaneros. I like hot peppers, but I love the flavor, and to have it not be hot so that the kids can eat it and we can make like sort of sweet salsas. Very excited for this one. I also got a Long Island cheese pumpkin. I didn't grow any pumpkin last year. I did try to grow several melons and squash and they failed. So I am trying this Long Island cheese pumpkin. It's a storing variety. For most of my squashes this year, I really want to grow long storage varieties that will last all winter in the cupboard. And this is one that's been tried by a bunch of people with success. So I'm gonna try it. Not sure it's gonna work in my area, but let's do it. This is really cool. So the birdhouse gourd. I'm pretty sure these aren't edible. If they were, I'm not sure they would taste very good, but they are meant to be dried on the vine. And then after several months, you can cut off the top, put a hole in it, scrape out the insides carefully, and create a little birdhouse. So I thought that was super neat. And if I'm successful, will be a super cool craft for the kids. I also ordered the giant crimson tomato because of course I have to try this. I will attempt to link that video down below. MI Gardener has a really good story. Luke from MI Gardener has a really good story about these seeds. So, holy basil to add to my collection of other basils. This is an excellent adaptogenic herb and I plan to use it in teas. I don't think I'm gonna try and grow it in the yard, but I have already started some inside for the hydroponics tower, so that'll be awesome. Oh, and I guess I ordered 2 giant crimson tomatoes. So I think that's all I ordered from MI Gardener. As I said before, I'm not gonna buy a bunch of seeds this year that I just wanna try out. What I really want is some success. I don't want to start 16 tomato plants and have them all die. So I'm going with my tried and true vegetables that I've grown successfully these past couple years, and I'm trying a couple hybrids and or heirlooms that hopefully do better. So as for the varieties I am growing, what should we start with? Peppers? All right, I moved y'all again because I keep shaking the table. Peppers! Okay, so although this isn't a true seed haul because I didn't order these now, I did order several seed packets earlier in the year. And one of those is the Sugar Rush Peach from Baker Creek. This is apparently supposed to be very, very delicious, especially as a jam. So I'm super excited to try that. Oy. Ah. Also got the Carolina Reaper. Super, super hot pepper. I like super, super hot peppers, so that will be fun to try. And after that, we're back to the peppers that I grew last year that I will grow again. So, of course, I have green and red hatch green chilies. These are from Sandia Seed Company, which is actually out of New Mexico, so that's pretty cool if you want to check them out. I have a bell pepper. It's one of 2 that I have. I have this one and a mini chocolate bell pepper. I don't know if I'm gonna grow bell peppers again. They take quite a bit of time to fully mature, and then once they do, there's only like 4 or 5 peppers on the plant, and then obviously you gotta eat them in a relatively short amount of time. Peppers do last quite a while on the plant, which is super awesome. But I don't know if it was worth the space to have to wait an extra month just to harvest a couple bell peppers. So I don't know if I'm gonna be growing these. These were better. They were definitely more prolific, the mini ones. But at that point, they were just too small. they were like this big. And I mean, if you're trying to stuff a bell pepper, that's not gonna work. For like a slicing pepper, if you wanna put it in a salad, I think that's great, but there are a lot of other peppers that produce more that taste just like bell peppers. So I'm not sure I'm gonna grow bell peppers again. This is a Bikino Yellow. This was a very interesting pepper to grow. I might grow like 1 or 2, but I'm not sure it's really prudent for me to waste space on this pepper. It got huge. And if I have a picture, I'll try and insert it here. And it had hundreds of tiny, tiny little peppers. But once they were all picked, there's not a whole lot to do with them. You have to stay there picking for hours just to get a basket of these very unique and interesting tasting peppers that I don't really know a whole lot to do with. I know you can make a relish. They're kind of fruity. They don't get hot. It was just a lot of work for these tiny little things to make food out of. It is a novelty. It's actually, I know that in Mexico they make tapas out of these, which is appetizers. I just don't know if I want to grow it again. Here's the sweet banana peppers I was talking about. I'll grow them again. They're a good substitute for bell peppers, honestly. So here's my canary yellow bell pepper that I'll be growing. These are my favorite padron peppers. This is a very interesting pepper. So when they're young and green, I believe it's less than 2 inches, maybe less than 1 inch. They're like shishito peppers. They have no heat and you can fry them up as an appetizer. They taste delicious. Let them get a little bit bigger or red and they are hot and just as delicious, but they are pretty hot. I made a bunch of salsa out of these. They were so prolific. I saved a ton of seeds from one plant that was just huge. So I'm super excited not only to grow these again, but to plant the seeds that I saved from last year to see if anything cool happens. The padron plant that I saved seeds from last year was the first pepper plant that I transplanted out, and it ended up freezing after I transplanted it. So it survived through a frost. It grew peppers before any of my other pepper plants did, and then it continued producing long after all my other plants stopped. That was an excellent plant. I saved as many seeds from it as I could, so I'm definitely excited to try out the padron this year again. Shishito peppers, tried and true favorite. I have to grow shishito peppers. They are excellent just as a snack. Awesome all the time, and they are so prolific. I mean, we get sick of how many shishito peppers come in that door, which is an amazing blessing. And then the Thai hot. These tiny little peppers are just Thai peppers like you would buy in the store or you see in Thai food. And there's so many of them. They're pretty hot too, but they make an excellent dried chili powder because they're so hot. So I guess we'll move on to tomatoes. I do have some tomatoes to show you that I bought this year. And these two are hybrids. So a quick word on hybrids and heirlooms. I understand that people may be averse to using hybrids. All a hybrid is a cross between two plants, and that baby plant is the hybrid. It doesn't mean it was laced with chemicals or grew up in a lab. It's just a blend of two separate plants to create a plant that has the benefits of both, equaling hybrid vigor. When it comes to GMOs, normal everyday people like you and me, we can't actually purchase GMO seeds. Those are tightly regulated for agriculture. So you're not gonna get a hybrid or an heirloom seed and it's GMO. It's not gonna work like that. It's rather impossible. The only disadvantage in my head about hybrids is that I won't be able to save the seeds from any of them, which I do like doing because I do want to create a population of plants that does better here at my house. And not that you necessarily can't save seeds from them, but if I were to save a seed from this Grand Marshal tomato, there's like a very, very high likelihood the seed I plant next year from that tomato will not look like this Grand Marshal tomato. So there is kind of some give and take. When you buy hybrids, you get hybrid vigor in your plants, and a lot of times it can cause success where other plants wouldn't have, but you also can't save seeds from them. So you have to weigh your options. For me, I had such a bad year last year that I do want to try and make this work, even if I can't save these seeds. If these do well, hey, I have tomatoes. And having tomatoes is what matters. So here, I've got the Grand Marshal tomato and the Estiva tomato. So the Grand Marshal is a determinate and the Estiva is an indeterminate. All that means is that the determinate will basically put its fruit out all at once, and then that'll be it. And the indeterminate, the plant will continue to grow the entire season and keep putting on fruit. It will just do it at a slower pace because they're not all maturing at once like the determinate. Both of these varieties, they don't have any information as to their variety on the back, but I believe they were both heat-tolerant varieties that tend to set fruit well in the heat. I can't imagine why I would buy any other kind. Ground cherry. Not sure I'm gonna grow it this year. I talked about that in my 2023 video, which I will link right here. But I don't know if I'm gonna grow ground cherries this year. Now, as for the rest of these tomatoes, except for one, Mexico midget. This tomato is excellent. I got the seed packet the first year I moved here, and these tomatoes were everywhere. I had tons and tons of little tomatoes. Last year, when all my tomatoes died from some unknown disease, these also died with all the transplants, but I had volunteers in my garden beds that I transplanted back to my tomato bed. And after all of the disease and everything, these tomatoes were some of the only that produced. They didn't produce very much, but they not only volunteered, but survived. So I saved a few seeds from the few tomatoes that I got last year from them. And I am definitely growing these again. This has been an excellent cherry tomato in my area. I also grew these two the first year I got here, and they did really well. I prefer the taste of the gold medal. This was a little bland to me. Didn't have any special something, but this one was super sweet and juicy and an excellent tomato. And both of these did well the first year. They died last year, but the first year they did well. And these rest, I have no experience with. That's false. So, Barry's Crazy Cherry Tomato, it did survive for a little while during that disease thing last year, and it threw off a couple tomatoes, which were okay. They weren't that great. So I do want to try it again this year. I just had such a bad experience with tomatoes last year. I can't really tell y'all a whole lot about my experience with them. I mean, I planted all of these and they all died. I had Barry's Crazy Cherry, I have a Paul Robeson, Thorburns Terracotta, and Amish Paste. All of these were planted last year. All of them fell prey to whatever infiltrated my garden. And I have no idea how they grow. But for the most part, I'm going to try all of these tomatoes again this year, as well as the 2 new hybrids that I got from Johnny's Seed Company. So now on to squash. I have a couple new seed varieties I bought earlier in the year. And these are from a seed company I didn't have a catalog for, but Southern Exposure Seed Exchange. They're another excellent seed company that tend to specialize for southern gardeners, more southeast than me, places where it rains. It doesn't rain here. But nonetheless, they have a lot of heat tolerant options. I'll separate the squashes into summer squashes and winter squashes. And let me just give you a brief difference. So summer squashes are gonna be things like your zucchini, your yellow squash, all the soft ones that you can eat the outside of. Winter squashes are meant to be left on the vine until their outer rind hardens, and then they're meant to last in storage for weeks or months. So an example of this would be a butternut, a pumpkin, and I do plan on growing both. I do want both storage squash and eating squash for the table. One excellent variety of summer squash that I had last year was the Ron Denise. This is a very quick producing squash plant. I believe it doesn't have the days to harvest here on the back, but I want to say it's somewhere around 60 days, which is super quick. So these plants grew very quickly, and I got several squash off of them. Unfortunately, I lost the whole plant to squash bugs when I went out of town for a week. But I will absolutely be growing this again. I'm very excited for this one. One thing you won't find in my squash collection is zucchini. Because why grow zucchini when there are like 50 other kinds of squash you can grow? All right, so several of these squashes that I planted last year also died. But I planted them in the direct sunlight in the in-ground garden bed right after I had cultivated that bed. So I'm gonna give these another go, and I'm gonna plant several of them in the raised garden beds where there's a shade cloth. So I have just a regular spaghetti squash. This is a honey nut, which is a little mini butternut. They're very cute. This is a new one I'm trying this year from Baker Creek. This is the Tahitian melon. This is going to be a winter squash. I also have a regular delicata, as well as this new one from Baker Creek. This is the blue Hubbard squash. This is also a winter squash. It looks so cool. Very excited. What else do I have? Okay, and then two from Southern Exposure are the Tromboncino and the Seminole Pumpkin. So I believe I heard about the Seminole Pumpkin from David the Good's YouTube channel, I think. And I think he said they were amazing and they just grew no matter what. Granted, he does live in a very humid climate and I don't, but I definitely want to give these a try because of what I've heard about their hardiness and their ability to take a beating in the garden. So if anyone can give them a beating, it's New Mexico sun. It really isn't like a spring garden thing. But what I do have growing in the grow room and what I'm going to transplant out this spring to finish growing are onions. So the seeds I started are both from Baker Creek. And I think these are actually a year old. Oh no, they were packed for this year. Anyways, Texas Early Grano and Violet the Galmi. I grew this one successfully from seed last year. So naturally I had to grow it again. And this is a new one. I wanted more of a red type or blush variety onion. I prefer red onion, unfortunately. A lot of red onions are long day varieties. So there are three basic types of onions you can grow: short day, intermediate day, and long day. And all of this is based on your location within the US and what onions grow best where. I'm in the southern US, short day varieties grow best here. It has to do with the amount of daylight the plants get for them to bulb up. You can attempt to plant long day onions in a short day area or short day onions in a long day area. You might not get it to bulb up, but you'll get green onions. I mean, something will grow, it just might never bulb into an onion. So unfortunately, my options for red onions are limited in my location, but this was a promising short day variety that apparently keeps pretty well. And that's important for me because we go through a lot of onions, so I want to grow a lot of onions and I want to be able to store them for long periods of time. All right, corn. I grew a little bit of corn last year, but it's stunted. It only got about 2 feet tall and like the cobs were like this big and they rotted super quick. I've never grown corn before. I need to do a lot more research on it this year. I know there's a lot of pests that can get them. I know they're heavy feeders and I didn't feed them as much as I should have. So I definitely do plan on doing this a little bit better this year. But I have 2 types of corn. This is a popcorn variety. So this will harden in the cob. Once it's dry, you pull it off and then you have little popcorn kernels. It needs to cure for a period of time so that they pop correctly, but popcorn. And this is a sweet corn. It's called double red corn. Like I said, I didn't get to taste either of these. I didn't get to harvest any of it, but I do want to grow corn here. Corn grows very well in our area. You see it everywhere. I also have sugar drip sorghum, which I bought earlier this year. I want to try it as a cover crop where all of my fruit trees, probably dead fruit trees, are. See if that helps. And then amaranth. Amaranth grows very, very well here. It loves the heat. I have harvested it for the amaranth seeds, the little kernels, and I've eaten amaranth before. It's awesome. It's like quinoa, but super, super tiny. It's kind of annoying to harvest. So I'm not growing it for my own food, which is totally possible. If I wanted to put in the work, I could absolutely do it. but it makes a really good chicken fodder. So it's pretty, it grows really well. I can just toss it anywhere and then toss the seeds to the chickens when I'm done. So I do love growing amaranth here. Beans. In my prior video, I talked about how I wasn't going to try growing scarlet runner beans again, and I'm sticking by that. I'm not. I do have a new bean though that I'm going to try, and that is the asparagus bean. Does very, very well in hot climates. I did plant a couple seeds at the end of the summer last year, and they did sprout and they did produce beans. So I'm just super excited to cover a whole trellis with them this year, and to have them like all hanging down as I walk through. It's gonna be so cool. Rattlesnake pole beans. This is something that I had success with, but they did peter out in the heat of the summer. So I planted them in the spring last year, and the vines grew a little bit and then didn't grow at all until August when the rains came. And then the plants took off and started producing beans like crazy. So I'm not super happy that they didn't produce during the summer, but at least they produced. So I will be growing these again, and I think I saved seeds. If not, I'm gonna need more. I think I saved seeds. And California black eye number 5. These beans are amazing. They grew straight through the hot sun, full sun, in the heat of the summer, and produced beans. I saved so many seeds. Hold on. So these beans grew so well that I only ate a couple of them because I picked every single pod and saved all of the seeds. My plan, my loose plan, is to till up the ground in between the possibly dead fruit trees and just plant a ton of these with inoculator to try and help the soil in there, because they grew so well in the exposed elements and the sun. I'm not as worried about getting black-eyed peas as I am about the soil and finding something that will grow here without me putting a shade cloth over it. So I saved all of these. I, of course, will plant some in the garden for eating, for fresh eating, but this is mostly for soil remediation. That's what I saved these for. That looks like all the beans I got, which I think is wrong. I could have sworn I had more beans, but I don't remember. So I did order, I think 5 packets of seeds from that company, Seeds and Such. I haven't got a confirmation order that it's on its way, and it's been several weeks, so I should probably check up on that. I want my free pepper seed packets. But let me show you guys all the seeds I saved last year. These are all the padron pepper seeds I saved. This is a ton, and this was all from that one plant. I mostly only saved seeds from stuff I wanted to regrow again, and obviously only stuff that succeeded. You don't want to be saving seeds from plants or fruits for that matter that look disheveled, unhealthy, didn't produce too well. You want to save seeds from your best producing plant and that biggest, juiciest, best tasting fruit. I didn't do that with these beans, I just kind of took them all. But when you save seeds for next year, that's what you want to do. You want the cream of the crop, and that's the only ones you want to take. I have some seeds from my mom that she gave me too. So I have seeds from red Malabar spinach, which I will also be growing again. And so here's an example of how I choose my seeds and how I save them and how I label them. So this is just an organza bag, I guess is what it's called. I had them in a drawer. I think they're super cheap. But the great thing is they let air through. So you can use like brown paper bags, these bags, something that lets air through so that these don't get moist and moldy over the whole year that they're gonna be in. And then obviously you wanna label it the year that you got it. It's a no-brainer. The type of fruit, that's also a no-brainer. But what I also like to do is tell myself, because I'm not gonna remember, why I saved these seeds. So for these mini chocolate bells, They were the largest bulbous fruits that this plant had ever produced, and it occurred during the August rains. So obviously the plants liked the rain. but now I know how this fruit looked relatively and why I saved it. So I should be looking for the same type of thing next year when I plant this. Oh, these are so cool. I don't want to find the seed packet because it's lost in that, but this is a wild, I have to find the seed packet. Another seed company alert, Native Seed Search. They're an awesome company based in Arizona, and they save heritage and native seeds from the area. They do a lot of work in seed saving, and you should definitely check them out. But one time, several times, driving to the Gila for hunts or camping or whatever, I would see these sunflowers all the time in the desert on the side of the road, just growing. I was like, I have to get seed. What are these? And I found them on native seeds, and I grew them last year, and they were amazing. So naturally, I saved all the seeds I could possibly get. And I'm going to start a couple indoors, but I really just want to like all over the yard. I want them to infest my property. I want to be overrun with sunflowers so that I can't even see the road. That's what I want. Oh, hey, I did save rattlesnake pole beans. Now on to the melons. So I've had success with two types of watermelons here. One is called the Desert King, which does better than the other type I have, which is the Sugar Baby. Sugar Baby is a very common variety, but the Desert King produced well for both me and my mom, and we both saved seeds from it. So those are two watermelons I'm growing. I'm not growing any cantaloupes or muskmelons or anything else. I don't eat a whole lot of melon. What I do eat a whole lot of is cucumber though. And I am growing, so I have two more varieties coming in the mail. I should have the Armenian yard-long cucumber and another variety I don't remember. But I also have this variety, which is the Market More. It's a very standard cucumber. They don't love the heat here. But I do usually get a harvest before they peter out in the heat of the summer. And this year I want to try succession sowing cucumber because of the success I had with my plants last August when we got all the rain. I think if I do a fall planting of cucumbers that I could be successful. We're gonna try it regardless, but I think I can be successful. What else? I'm not growing the cucamelons this year, which I talked about in my last video. And as for cole crops, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, carrots, turnips, peas, all of these cool weather crops, I cannot grow. It's not going to happen in the summer, and there's like an 80% likelihood it's not going to happen in the spring either. They just won't come to maturity before it gets too hot. We're getting up into the 90s in April. So I'm just not going to go for much of a spring planting this year and see how that does for me. I haven't gotten a harvest the last 2 years, so I'm not going to be missing anything. But hopefully maybe that will give me way more room for my summer plants, because the last 2 years I've started spring crops. They're still in the ground when I'm planting out my summer plants. And then I'm just missing out on space for plants that aren't going to give me anything anyways. So we're going to skip that this year and just throw everything we have at the summer garden and hope that it lives this year. I do have several flower varieties. I'll just name off a couple right now that do pretty well here in the heat. Nasturtium is okay. It does better for me on a shady side, so on the north side of the garden. Nasturtium does way better for me over there. Zinnias, love it. Zinnias like the weather. They don't have any problem. Sunflowers also. Sunflowers are amazing. I grow them every year, and I've started this tradition where I'm growing them on our front driveway, which I think is really cool. So I'm gonna try and keep that going. I planted several other flowers that just died in the garden under the shade cloth that last year. I'm actually gonna do flowers in a whole separate video, and I'll probably do it when I start planting my seeds for the year, because then I'll have a better exact list of plants I'm planting that I can tell you guys. But the three that do really well here for me are nasturtium, zinnia, and sunflowers. I won't be trying as much ornamentals as I did last year. It ended up being really depressing for me because they all died. And it's not necessarily my fault. I don't know what grows here and I'm still trying to learn. It's just a painful learning process. I think that's all the plants I have for you guys. I mean, there's a couple little ones that I'm sure I will remember at a later date. And if you guys have experience from any of these varieties that you've grown, or you live in a similar climate to me, I would love to hear your experience down below. I don't have a whole lot of gardening friends up here. It's kind of just like me doing my own thing. So the comments I have received from you guys have been amazing and very enlightening, and I enjoy it. So thank you for joining me today. I am certain that I left some seed varieties out, and I don't have all my packets yet either. So there will be an updated video most likely when I start planting these out. I will start seeding some plants in mid-February. It's so close, so that's exciting. But if you like what you see and you're interested in hearing more, feel free to like and subscribe, or don't. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until the next one.